Welcome to Aerotech Talks. Kelly, I think today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to mess up a test.
Oh, we haven't done that 100 or 200 times.
Go slow!
Action.
We have a lot of experience in how to not do aero testing very well at all. It took years of development work. We've been at this for a long time. So we have quite a list of do's and don'ts when it comes to aero testing. So I think it would be best if we actually just fire back and forth.
Sure.
And go over.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. Well, I think probably that's one of the key things, right? So we all know that incorrect mounting is going to mess up your whole day. So here's a great example of a sensor being incorrectly mounted. We want to make sure that it's level so that it's basically working optimal. The other thing that we've seen is obviously if you mount it behind your seat and so forth, it's you're not going to get the results you want.
No. And a more practical example of that, that would be some people have external cabling on their bikes, and that external cabling, it very easily can get in the way of the pitot tube. So you want to make sure that external cabling is not going to be messing up the measurement of the airflow. So you want to keep that external cabling far away.
Get your rider to do a couple laps, get himself comfortable, get himself warmed up. And especially if you're using new equipment he hasn't used, it's a great time, I think, for them to just get comfortable with that new equipment in any capacity.
That's right. And to add to that point is, oftentimes we've done testing where we know we have a limited amount of time and we feel rushed. We get to site, we're rushing through things, we're trying to get on our bikes, we're trying to get going. We end up uncomfortable for the first hour of testing because we were so busy racking our brains over getting things ready quickly. You really need to take the time to warm up. You really need to take the time to slowly and methodically go through the steps of the process like doing any kind of engineering style of testing.
Yeah, good point.
Anytime you're riding and a test is not going well or you feel like you're in an unsafe situation, of course you can apply the brakes and be safe. However, we do not want to intentionally apply the brakes or have any kind of brake rub. We've had situations where there has been such a subtle amount of brake rub that we noticed it in the data, and we didn't necessarily notice it until the next day, but when we were repeating testing. But certainly do not apply the brakes. Energy's got to go somewhere. Yep. It's going into the brakes.
And it's going into your number that you want to reduce, which is your CDA. So good point. Yep. And to that braking point, also, I guess if cars are passing, so forth, getting back to that safety comment, if you're in an area, try to reduce car traffic. Take in consideration every time a car goes by, that's going to affect your CDA. So the time that you've spent and the money to get tested is that lap should get discarded.
You really got to pay attention to your head unit. Your head unit is your instruction set. It's telling you what to do as a rider, and you have to stay focused on what it's telling you and know what's coming next. You don't want to be constantly looking down at it, but you certainly need to listen to it. And so what I mean by that is...
like we've got we set up an Audible in there, so you might have heard Siri's talk in the iPad. I think we've got the Garmin head unit now beeping
as well.
And really, the action items are relatively easy, right? You're basically go, testing, coast, and then turn. So, and that's the moment. As soon as you hear coast, you can relax, that type of thing. Slowly turn around and go back in. So it's not telling you a lot, but it's telling you the important key things that you need to pay attention to as the rider.
That's right, yeah. And it's not, this isn't rocket science per se, but certainly we have had challenges in the past where we don't give ourselves or one of our riders enough leeway to get up to speed and into position before he hits that testing state. And that means you end up right off the bat starting with a bad test.
And one other thing is we've talked about it before, it's not required, but things like a wheel speed sensor. Again, if you happen to be in a location, which we've done, where we have poor cellular, then all of a sudden it made things a little bit more difficult. So having that is just more of a safety.
Yeah, it's useful. Certainly in extreme, heavily treed areas, in and around tall buildings, things like that, your GPS quality does degrade a little bit. Your ideal location, in order to avoid using a wheel speed sensor, would be in an open blue skies.
Because we have so many engineers, we're very systematic with things, but people can get excited with their testing and they might decide to do multiple changes at that one point. So that's where that's a no-no. That's a no-no. So the reason why is, so for example, if you decide you want to change your helmet, your skin suit, and one other thing, and you get a really awesome CDA, the problem is you don't know which one it was.
Yeah.
And
Or
reverse.
if it was all three.
All three, and or if one actually was a negative asset.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
so be systematic, and this is a part of planning, which if you haven't seen our other videos, it's worth watching. But do one change at a time. First change a helmet.
Yep.
Good results, bad results. Bad results, go back to the other helmet, or if you have multiple helmets, kind of test through that. When you find your best piece of equipment, move on to the next one. And this can apply to body positions with an experienced fitter. It can be everything to equipment and clothing. But really the takeaway is just take the time, do the test, know why you're doing the test, make sure you do all the things from safety and so forth. And you're going to have successful tests and you're getting amazing results, because we are getting results on skin suits. We're getting results on booties. We did that for the U.S. Olympic team in regards to testing of data, which had been a long-standing dispute.
Helmets with pros, arm positions.
We did a test with a pro between a small to a medium frame. And what's interesting is everybody kept saying small is going to be faster. But they weren't taking consideration his entire holistic strategy of his riding style, his body capability, and his flexibility. So if you like what we talked about, definitely give us a like, follow us. Any comments, any other videos that we should be doing below, we'd appreciate it. And
every watt counts.
Every watt counts, guys. Enjoy.